there's a moment just before you step out and take your first step on day one, when everything is just so incredibly calm. You've made no contact with anyone, you've not spoken a word, and it lasts only for a moment, and you have it. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I've experienced it every time I've taught a class here at the University of Alberta. And it's unbelievable. But it's also extremely short. It doesn't last very long. And then you take your first step. Good morning and welcome. My name is Maraj. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Physical Education and Recreation, and I have been at the University of Alberta for 17 years. I will start my 18th year, July 1. And I've always enjoyed teaching here. I've been blessed to have marvelous classes since 1999. And many of those classes have been required classes. And you know what can happen sometimes when you have a required class on day one. But it's something that I absolutely enjoy. And I'd like to share a few things with you today. But first, I want to know who you are. Who are you? How many grad students? Please indicate. Yes? Faculty members? Yes, okay, you're running a close second. Others? It's like golf, you know, bogeys and double bogeys and others. Yes, it's great to have all of you here. I am really glad when people step out and say, I want to learn something from somebody else. And my goal today is to give you at least one thing, give you something you can hang on to that might help you on your day one, but on other days as well. The trick, though, is that bad boy. I've got till 11:15 and then that's it. All over but the crying. Oh, no, she looks at me and she said, no, 11:13 because the other person has to set up. Okay, so we can work on that. All right. Let's see now, hang on. My disclaimers, yes. I've never done a workshop in my life. And they told me this was a workshop. I signed up for one of those 5-minute bad boys. And they said, no, you're doing this. I said, good. This is what I want to do. So that's the first one. And what I'm about to tell you, you can read anywhere. The stuff I'm going to give you, the something that I hope to give you at the end, you can read. You can read about this yourself. In fact, right now, you can even go to another session if you wanted to. Okay, good. You haven't chosen to do that, so I'm happy. And I want to stop there. I need you to do this for me. I need you to just read the first line. I know I could have built it all, but I don't have as much time as I think. Hold everything I said from that quiet moment to when I just shut up or I pointed to the clock. Hold that in working memory, because we're going to bring that back in just 1 second. Okay? Now, I've tried to read about this first day of class because, like you, I want to understand what's going on. I'm like, what is that thing that I experience and then engage in? And how can I help other people figure out what that is and work best for them? I know what works for me. I need you to know what works for you. I enjoyed the talk by Ken Bain, and this is one of those things that I just saw there. You get one of those overarching questions that you want. And one of the things that I hear from time to time is, are teachers just naturally born teachers? You're a teacher. There it is. You have it. Or is it a skill that you can develop? I fundamentally believe that it's a skill that you can develop. Okay? And people have called me saying, yeah, you're a natural. I said, no, I work my butt off at this stuff. I try to understand things. So I want you to understand something that I have come to understand. Just a little bit. I still have lots to learn about it. So, this first day of class has been, and you can read this stuff, you can read in Faculty Focus, there are books, even Ken Bain's book will talk about stuff like, you need to set the tone. Well, I said a lovely article in 2013, and the stuff that she's pointing out there is lovely. I mean, get students talking, be personable, be authentic. I think those two I hope they would be the same. Give students a reason to read the syllabus, showcase your content. And that's all really nice to read. But how do you do that? How does one set the tone? So how do we operationalize this? How do we develop an appreciation for the power of that first class? How do we get students to understand the uniqueness of what you're doing? And you're not a one-trick pony. How do you engender this interest that's sustainable over the 13-week period that you've got for them? That, to me, there it is, right? It's not like, hey, I had a great first day at second day, third day, fourth. It's a long journey, 13 weeks. How do we do that? So that's what I want you to get today. If nothing else, I'm going to give you my own little formula. It's not really a formula, but it's got numbers. Those numbers. Okay, 10:52, I still got time. When I told you to hold that stuff in working memory that we had, I went through this particular order. First thing I did, me. I just said, take that from the Matrix. Remember when Agent Smith is just replicating? Never mind. Okay. I like the scene. You have to introduce yourself in some way, shape, or form. And you will do that. And I'm putting this as one. We'll talk about order and stuff in a bit. You got to establish a little bit of credibility. Somehow. So you're teaching this class, and for me, so remember what I said. Hi, I'm Maraj. I've been here for 17 years. You think somebody's been here for 17 years, they may know something, right? They invited him here for the video. Establish some degree of credibility. This is a kicker, because I've seen people trip over this so many times, it's unbelievable. How autobiographical do you want to be? How much of yourself do you want to reveal on that first day? How much do you want to tell them? Well, I really have a weakness for Irish whiskey. I like playing pool at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? You say stuff, and people do. They start saying things. Now, being extremely cognizant of the time. Anybody go to the FoT spots last night? So for some people, they gave 5-minute talks. It was lovely about things that work for them in teaching. One of the ones that came out was on group projects, and that was the entire class. But what the instructor said was that in the initial stages, she had to demonstrate her vulnerability because she had no idea if it was going to work. And she had to confess that to the students. So you ask yourself, how vulnerable do you want to be when you then says, I know crap about this? Or it's like me saying, I've never done a workshop in my life. Head for the doors. Right? How much of that do you want to put out there? You expose your personality a bit, and you show a human side of yourself. Now, many people take very different approaches to this establishing of yourself, right, when you're up there. Because in some cases, you may just want to become the authority. You're the scholar. You are the person who knows a lot about whatever that subject is, and you want them to know that. Right? That may not be in your personality, but you may want to do that. And sometimes context-specific classes, things that lend themselves to your personality, about things like whatever it is you're teaching. For example, if you had experiences in games or something else that you're teaching about, you might talk about those kind of things. I have a colleague who is in leisure studies, and his personal leisure stuff, he brings that out into class. Some students think maybe too much, but and you're always going to get that. But that's something that's number one. That's what you've got to think about. 2 is you. Y'all. That's the second thing that I did. I said, where are y'all from? What are you doing? Like, who are the people that's making this stuff up? And basic presentation stuff, you all know your audience. And this is what it's intended to do. And we didn't do very much of this because I'm doing a lot of talking. But you want to initiate engagement, encourage interaction, establish some sort of connection. We all have the same sort of goal with this. What I love about this particular point, and we'll make more of that because I do have one more. The why are you here sort of connection that's there. In this second one, and then in the third one I'm going to make in just 1 second, is where you can establish what your class wants to be, what you want your class to be like for the rest of the semester. So if you want it to be an interactive thing, we can start talking about stuff now. Time's not against, it's really against me for a lot of stuff, but now's the time for you to start to establish that. Is this the kind of class I want to have? Is this the kind of thing I want to do? Now, the third one, nobody's old enough here to know this song except me. Oh, maybe somebody else. Thank you. It's an old song, but what's it all about? How's it going to shake down? What's the format, the function of the whole thing? What are we actually going to do? Now, when I was doing my little shtick in the beginning, I didn't tell you very much of that. right? I said, you're gonna learn something and I couldn't really tell you exactly what before I did it. But in your class, you can do that. In your class, you can tell them exactly how that's going to shake down, exactly how it's going to work, and lay the foundation for what's to come. So if you want your class to be interactive, you say, okay, fine. Let's start talking. You and I will talk about so-and-so. You get other people to talk about things. You can lay the foundation of how you want it to be shaped. Now, the last one, so I'm a big fan of what's so exciting about the stuff that I teach. And I could talk about that till the cows come home. But you've got to be able to demonstrate that as well. It says, what's so exciting about poultry farming or poultry farming, people, whatever it is you teach, chemistry, you name it. And the last one is the constraints. And you've got to address the constraints. For me, it was just to say we don't have a lot of time. For you, if you know if you're a professor or a student traveling to a conference at a particular time, you need to indicate those really clearly so students, they understand those things that are coming up. They understand things that are, when the exams are going to be, what sort of sections and milestones exist that you can tell them about. Yes. All right. This is, so what I did was that. I went 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, I introduce myself. 2, I say, who are you? 3, I say, what are we doing? 4, I say, we don't have a lot of time. Right? Now, anybody here ever see the movie The Princess Bride? There's a line that just describes it so beautifully to me. In that movie, the guy goes, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Now. Right? I love that line because he introduces himself. He talks about the other guy for a second, tells you what it's all about, and does it now. Oh, that thing is just gorgeous. So, but that's my 1, 2, 3, 4. But here's what I want to do. This is where the workshop part of it, I may actually do this before 11 o'clock. This is where it comes in. So what if we did that? What if you talked about the people before you talked and say that so for me, this would have been, hey, it's good to meet all of you. That is great. Then you interact with the people and you go. And then you say, we don't have a lot of time. Here's what I do. Here's what I need you to do. That's the order in which you do it on that first day. You can mix that up. But here we go. You can do other ones and other ones. I like the colors because they change them up. And here's where I want you to start interacting with your people. Whew. I wanted 11 o'clock for that. This is good. So I want you to start thinking about how it is you would do that. Or you can tell me, but I want you to talk to other people who are in there. Because I've started classes with the, why are you here? Just to bring it to give them that feeling of, well, why am I here? Why does my faculty make me take this class? Things like that. And then they come to understand it. Now, all the number nerds in there will be very happy to see me do this. I came up with every combination I possibly could. And there's a formula for that, but I don't know what it is. And so I just wrote them all out. That's every possible permutation of those numbers that you could have. So what I want you to do is find 2 or 3 other people that are with you for just a few minutes and look at some of those orders. So you know what I do. It's an intro, you, connect to you, what it is you're going to do in constraints, and then just think about how you would, the different ways in which you can do that. I read Wikipedia on what a workshop does, and it does this stuff. It tells you to talk to each other, not just to me. So go ahead, find a couple of people and talk about those. Because it really does make a difference in terms of how everything unfolds. So go ahead, don't be shy. This 1, 2, 3, 4 system actually does give you something to think about in terms of how it is you want to sequence things. What do you want to prioritize in terms of what the students first hear, what their first impression is. In Ken Bain's talk, when he talked about bringing a cardboard cutout and toilet paper, that made sense to me. Right? He said, what's the surface, what's the area under this? Hey, you can fill it all with toilet paper and measure your toilet paper and you're laughing. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But you can do stuff like that. Some of those things could be games. It could be whatever it is you want. And depending on the sensitivity of your subject and then the nature of the context about which you're teaching, there are different approaches that you can have with that.